The youth wing of Sweden's main Liberal Party has filed a motion to legalise incest and necrophilia. This is what they said. They said, we don't like morality laws in general, and this legislation is not protecting anyone right now. I don't know about that. We're a youth wing, and one of our tasks is to think one step further. I understand that necrophilia and incest can be seen as unusual and disgusting by legislation, cannot be based on it being disgusting. There was a quote there, I think the misquote was from the original source. It says, they say, but legislation. Anyway, regardless, they feel as though morality laws are unnecessary and pervasive in a way that is contrary to good sense and has no basis in a sensible society. Joe?
Well, again, this comes down to, first of all, let me just say that Sweden is a very liberal country. In general, it's been seen as a role model. They open the door to a lot of things that other countries wouldn't. But in general, it comes down again to whether the government should have the ability to restrict people in how they use their own body in things that are very intimate decisions between people. But I think when you're talking about things like necrophilia and incest, it really comes down to consent. Incest between a brother and sister, for example, if it's mutually consensual, then personally, well, there is also a health issue as well to bear in mind. If two people have a child through incest, then that baby can be unhealthy. So we have to think about the health sides as well. Necrophilia, I'm imagining that this will only be legalized if it goes ahead in the cases of where someone leaves some kind of a letter before they die saying, I consent to someone else having sex with my dead body. If it is consensual, I guess it's just the health reasons that are the factor.
How can, I don't know about any of this. The suggested motion regarding the incest is that two siblings over the age of 15 could legally have sex. So right there, I mean, you've got to whether 15-year-olds can legally or sensibly, intelligently give consent is debatable. That's why there are age restrictions on having consent with people who aren't your brother, sister, or cousins in the first place, because you just don't have the maturity to be able to make those decisions in a sensible fashion. But setting aside the age limit that they've set, there is something morally repugnant about it. And regardless, as you said, there is also, but for good reason. But for good reason. And there's also a very real health issue that goes with that. Again, this is not something that's just to challenge moral norms and to challenge the way that we view the world is a legitimate thing to do, but I don't know whether this is necessarily the best way to do it. The necrophilia thing, again, just seems nonsensical. I think it's just unnecessarily provocative just for the sake of it. They said it should be your own decision what happens with your body after you die. And if that happens to be that you want to bequeath your remains to a museum or to science, or if you want to bequeath your remains to someone to sleep with them, then that should be okay. What is this, in perpetuity? I mean, how are you supposed to be embalmed? Are you supposed to be, I just don't get it. What if you're I mean, I don't even want to get into the mechanics of it. It seems baffling, not to say somewhat stomach churning, to even contemplate how this would work.
At the end of the day, though, you should have control of your own body and how you use your body, but there must be health issues when we're talking about a dead body. We don't know how long it's been dead for. Again, let's not go into the mechanics. I do want to point out that over in China, there's this concept called the Chinese, it's like dead bride weddings, basically, where they believe that there can be all sorts of bad luck and problems with lineage if a woman in particular dies before she is wed. And so you'll often have unmarried dead women being married off to a man, and it could be a dead corpse or a man who's alive. So this kind of, it's not exactly necrophilia because it's not sexual involvement, but this kind of thing does happen on a worldwide scale. Right. China's not actually the only place. But certainly when you're talking about sexual intercourse, there are health issues to think of as well.
Sure, and it's just desperately unpleasant. And as the head or the spokesperson for the Liberal Party, this is just part of the youth wing. I just want to reiterate that in case that wasn't clear. This is part of the youth wing, and they see themselves as being progressive and trying to forge new barriers and really push the envelope. The actual Liberal Party itself, which was part of the coalition, the ruling coalition, for a long period of time within Sweden, a spokesperson from the actual Liberal Party itself said the following: "Surely you must understand that people are laughing at your liberalism, you nitwits. And what other challenges facing society is on the top 100 list for Stockholm's liberal youth? Sex with hippos? So they're just debunking the whole thing. Obviously, the liberal youth feel as though they really need to push the envelope, really need to test the boundaries of what's morally acceptable, whether this is the best way in which to do it. It's highly debatable. And really, clearly it has no chance of getting through, but it's got us talking, it's got the conversation going. But really, as progressive steps go, I feel as though it's possibly their efforts and energies could be put in a different, better direction.